हेलो राम जी।
हाँ सर।
आ गए आप?
क्या सर, सुनाई नहीं दिया?
मेरी आवाज साफ नहीं आ रही क्या?
नहीं सर, आपकी आवाज साफ नहीं है।
अभी?
हाँ, अभी एकदम साफ है सर।
ठीक, थैंक यू। स्वप्निल सर। स्वप्निल सर।
जी बताएं।
शुरू किया जाए?
1 मिनट बचा है, रुक जाते हैं और फिर शुरू कर जी। बिल्कुल शुरू करें लक्ष्मीकांत जी।
जी सर।
बिल्कुल, जितने लोगों का मैं परिचय करा रहा हूं और उसके पहले सभी के का स्वागत है दोपहर के बाद के सेशन में। और बहुत सारे लोगों का मैं परिचय करा रहा हूं, लेकिन सच बात बताऊं कि जब राम जी जैसे युवा का परिचय कराने की बात आती है तो अंदर से बेहद खुशी होती है। जितने भी लोग हम लोग यहाँ पर आपसे बातचीत करने के लिए उपस्थित हैं, उनमें सबसे युवा राम जी सर हैं। राम जी इविंग क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज से बीएससी करने के बाद आईआईटी कानपुर से उन्होंने एमएससी किया और उसके बाद बहुत विरले ही होते हैं जो एमएससी करने के बाद जो है तुरंत जो है टीचिंग लाइन में आ जाते हैं। तो राम जी उसमें से एक हैं और उसके बाद उन्होंने इविंग क्रिश्चियन कॉलेज ज्वाइन किया एज एन असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर। और इस बात पे बिल्कुल हमें गर्व होता है कि हम सभी जब कभी किसी प्रॉब्लम में फंसते हैं, चाहे वो कहा जाए कि एडवांस टेक्निक हो, सवालों की स्थिति हो, तो बिल्कुल हम जो है राम जी को ढूंढते हैं और कहते हैं कि राम जी ये सवाल नहीं हो पा रहा है, आकर के आप कर दें। तो राम जी उसमें से एक हैं। मुझे बिल्कुल हर्ष का अनुभव हो रहा है कि मैं राम जी को इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहा हूं। मैं इस व्याख्यान के लिए राम जी सर को बुलाना चाहता हूं। राम जी सर।
लक्ष्मीकांत सर, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑन नहीं है अभी।
वीडियो ऑन हो सकता है कि नहीं?
नहीं सर।
ओके, ठीक है, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑन हो गई।
स्क्रीन आ रही है सर?
बिल्कुल।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
Okay. So, very, very thanks to Dr. Swapnil Srivastav for such a nice introduction. First of all, I am grateful to the organizers of this workshop for giving me the opportunity to address the participants with the help of this lecture. A very good afternoon to all the teachers who are present in Zoom platform and all the participants who are watching this session in Zoom and Facebook Live. First of all, I expect from all the participants for a favor that please do comments in yes or no in chat box when I ask if you understand or not. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but
Yes, sir.
is it landscape or portrait mode?
It is in landscape mode.
Okay, that's good. ठीक, okay.
Okay. Quickly coming to this session, let me begin with an overview of what I am going to discuss in next 1 hour. The topic for this session is Bayes category theorem. So we will start with a simple introduction to the brief history and applications of the theorem. See, our ultimate goal in this lecture is to prove the Bayes category theorem. So all the things which we will discuss in this session will completely goes around the proof of this theorem only. For this, we will set up some tools which will help in proving the theorem. The first tool that we will need is dense and nowhere dense sets. So we will discuss about it with some elementary examples and a very basic property of nowhere dense sets, which I will mention in this lecture later on, which will also use in the help in the proof of the theorem. Okay, then we will discuss very briefly about the category in the metric space and how to classify them. The main tool which we'll use to prove Bayes theorem is Cantor's intersection theorem. It is also mentioned by Lakshmikant sir that it is an important result in complete metric space. So we'll discuss later on in this lecture. Now, after collecting all the tools, we will discuss the Bayes category theorem and its proof. And also we'll discuss the geometry of the proof of Bayes category theorem. Finally, I will give some references at last. So this is my overview of the lecture. Shall we begin?
Sure.
Sir, okay. Starting with the history part, the Bayes category theorem was first proved by French mathematician René Louis Baire in 1899 in his doctoral thesis in Harvard University. It is an important result which is used in general topology, functional analysis, and theory of several complex variables. Those who have opted these courses must use this theorem in proving closed graph theorem, open mapping theorem, uniform boundedness principle, etc. in functional analysis. It is also used to prove Hartogs theorem in the theory of several complex variables. In general topology, this theorem gives sufficient condition for a topological space to be a Baire space. A Baire space is a topological space where intersection of countably many dense open sets is still dense. Further, it has some applications in manifold theory also. Okay. Now, quickly, let us collect some tools which will help in the proof of the theorem. Let us begin with a dense set in a metric space. Suppose A along with metric D is a metric space, X along with metric D is a metric space. A subset A of X is said to be dense set if and only if closure of A is equal to X. Now, what do you mean by closure of a set? A closure is defined as the smallest closed set of A of X containing A. A closure, it is also defined by Dr. Akhilesh sir, also by Dr. Vivek Jain sir. So A closure denotes the closure of A and defined as the smallest closed set of X containing A. So a subset is said to be dense if A closure is equal to X. Combining those two facts, we can also say A is said to be dense. We can also say equivalently A is said to be dense in X if and only if the only closed subset containing A is the whole space X. That means there is no closed subset between A and X. Then the set A is said to be dense. Okay. Now I am going to consider some examples. The first example that we will consider is of the set of natural number as subset of usual metric space in R. Obviously, N is a closed subset in R, and so closure of N is N. It is also discussed by many teachers earlier. N is closed in R, so N closure is equal to N. Closure of any closed set is equal is that set. And since N closure is N, not R, so N is not dense in R. Okay. Second example we will consider as the set of rational numbers with R as as a subset with R as usual metric. So take A equal to Q and X equal to R. Then you already know that every point of Q, every point of R, either it is rational or irrational. Every point of R, either it is rational or irrational, is a limit point of Q. So we can say Q closure equal to R. Actually, closed set is collection of those point. Closed set is the set which contains all of its limit point. So if every point of R is a limit point of Q, so Q closure must be equal to R. And in this case, Q closure is equal to R, so we can say Q is dense in R. So in above two examples, we see two type of sets. One is dense and one is not dense. Okay. Now quickly proceed to this proposition that let A be dense in X, then every non-empty open set in X must intersect A. I repeat, let A be dense in X, then every non-empty open set in X must intersect A. What does it mean? It means that if you take any non-empty open set, say B in X, then if is for any non-empty open set, say B in X, then B intersection A must be non-empty. Let us prove this proposition. Okay, I am going to prove it by using contradiction. So suppose, if possible, there exists a non-empty open set such that B intersection A is empty. I suppose there exists a non-empty open set such that which does not intersect A, that means B intersection A is empty set. In this case, it is obvious if B intersection A is empty, then the whole B must be contained in complement of A. So, but B is open, so each point of B is an interior point of B, and so each point of B must be exterior point, must be interior point of X minus A, as B is contained in X minus A, as B is contained in X minus A. So every point of each point of B is interior point of B, so it is interior point of X minus A also. But we all know that interior of A complement is same as the exterior of A. So each point of B is an interior point of X minus A. So we can say each point of B is an exterior point of A. So we can conclude that A closure cannot be equal to X. Okay, is it okay? Is there any questions? Lakshmikant sir.
I think there is no question.
Okay. This is all about dense set in metric space. Okay, let us proceed to know where dense set in metric space. This is what we need in the proof of Bayes category theorem. Suppose X with metric D is a metric space. A subset A of X is said to be nowhere dense if and only if interior of closure of A is empty. The definition is interior of closure of A is empty. That means closure of A does not contain any interior point. Examples. The first example I will take. Consider A equal to natural set of all natural numbers and X is R with usual metric. Obviously, N is a closed subset in R, so N closure is N. Obviously, N is a closed subset of R, so N closure is N, and interior of N is phi. So we can say interior of closure of N is phi, so N is nowhere dense set in R. Okay. Now take second example. Take A equal to Q, X equal to R with usual metric. Then you already know that closure of Q is R. Obviously, closure of Q is R, and interior of Q closure is same as interior of R, and interior of R is equal to R. So Q is not nowhere dense in R. Now consider one more example of discrete metric space. Consider discrete metric space XD, then any non-empty subset of X is not nowhere dense. Why? Let us talk about it. Oh. It is very easy. In discrete metric space, each subset is open as well as closed. So if we consider any non-empty subset of discrete metric space, then its closure will be the same set and its interior will be again the same set, which is non-empty. So any non-empty subset of discrete metric space, the interior of closure of that set will be the same set which is non-empty, so that set cannot be nowhere dense. Come to the proposition that I am going to use in the proof of Bayes theorem. The proposition is as follows. If a subset A of metric space X is nowhere dense, then every non-empty open set contains an open ball disjoint from A. This proposition is very important for the proof of Bayes category theorem. I repeat, if a subset A of a metric space X is nowhere dense, then every non-empty open ball contains an open ball disjoint from A. The non-empty open set contains an open ball. There is a typo here. Then there is a non-empty open set contains an open ball disjoint from A. Let us quickly prove it. So what we given? We given A be nowhere dense subset of metric space and let G be a non-empty open set. We need to show that there exists an open ball which is contained in G as well as disjoint with A. So first thing that we should observe that G cannot be subset of A closure. G cannot be subset of A closure. Why? Because otherwise, if G is a subset of A closure, then G is an open set. So A closure contains some interior point, and if closure contains some interior point, then interior of A closure must be non-empty, which contradicts that A is a nowhere dense set. So first thing that we should observe that G cannot be subset of closure of A. The second thing that we will observe that X minus A closure, that means complement of A closure, intersection G must be non-empty. Because if it is empty, then G intersection A closure, G will be contained in A closure. And that is not possible. It is mentioned in above line. Okay. Till then, any questions?
No question.
No. Okay. But as A closure is a closed set, so X minus A closure is an open set. G is already open, so intersection of two open set is open. So X minus A closure intersection G is an open subset of X. Okay. So as this is open, so they and also it is non-empty, so there exists an open ball which is contained in that open set, which is X minus A closure intersection G. But contained in intersection, that means it contained in G as well as contained in X minus A closure. Okay, but contained in X minus A closure, that means contained in complement of A closure, that means it is disjoint with A closure. So we can say there exists an open ball which is contained in G and disjoint with A closure. Now, if a subset is disjoint with A closure, then it is also disjoint with A. So we can conclude there exists an open ball which is contained in G as well as disjoint with A. That is what we need to prove. Okay, this is all about nowhere dense set. This proposition is important and we will use this proposition in the proof of Bayer's category theorem. Now, I am going to discuss about categories in metric space. We will classify all metric spaces in two categories, namely first and second category.
There is one question. Hello.
Hello, yes sir.
Can you explain this proposition statement in diagram? Someone saying so.
Everything in diagram cannot, everything can't be explained in diagram only. 1 second, I'll back. Okay, this proposition, if A is if a subset A of metric space is nowhere dense, then every non-empty open set contains an open ball disjoint from A. Okay. See, nowhere dense set can't be represent geometrically, so it can't be possible to express this geometrically. Is there any problem in this analytical proof? So I will explain it again.
I think there is no problem in proof, but he wished to. ERC
They want to they want to
visualize it.
visualize this.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll do it later on.
Okay.
Okay. So
Someone is also asking that you are going so fast, but I think it is
okay.
okay.
Okay, sir.
Continue.
Now, I'm going to discuss about categories in metric space. We classify all metric spaces in two categories, namely first category and second category. Come to the definition. A metric space or its subset as subspace metric is said to be first category if it can be expressed as countable union of nowhere dense set. Means a metric space is said to be of first category if there exists a family of nowhere dense set whose union is equal to that family. Okay, we'll take some examples of it. A metric is come to the definition of second category. A metric space or its subset is said to be of second category if it is not of first category. It is very simple. Quickly, let us come to an example. Any countable subset of R is an example of first category. The question is why. So first we'll recall the definition of first category. A metric space is said to be of first category if it can be expressed as countable union of nowhere dense set. So to show that countable subset of R is of first category, we need to find a countable family of nowhere dense set whose union is equal to that countable set. Okay. For observe this thing. Any singleton set in R is nowhere dense. Why? If any singleton set in R, we know that any finite set in any metric space is a closed set, so any singleton set is also a closed. Also, singleton set in R is not open, so A closure will be that singleton. If A is the singleton set, then A closure will be that set A, and its interior will be phi. So interior of closure of A is phi, so singletons are nowhere dense. And if singletons are nowhere dense, and then any countable subset of R, so any countable subset of R can be expressed as countable union of singletons, and the singletons are nowhere dense set, so that countable subsets of R is an example of first category. Okay, come to the main theorem, Cantor's intersection theorem. I will slow down here. Okay, the statement is as follows: let X be a non-empty complete metric space and Fn be decreasing sequence of non-empty closed set such that diameter of Fn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. Then the intersection of Fn is singleton. I repeat, let X be a non-empty complete metric space and Fn be a decreasing sequence of non-empty closed set such that diameter tends to 0 as n goes to infinity. Then intersection is singleton. Before proving this theorem, let us quickly know about the hypothesis of this theorem. The first hypothesis is that we take that the metric space X is complete metric space. What do you mean by the complete metric space? As mentioned by Dr. Lakshmikant sir, a metric space is said to be complete if and only if every Cauchy sequence in X must converges in X. So this is the definition of complete metric space. Okay. The second hypothesis is that each Fn is non-empty closed set. In the statement of this Cantor's intersection theorem, the second hypothesis which is given is each Fn is non-empty closed set. Look here, we take all Fn to be non-empty because if any one of them is empty, then the intersection will also be empty. Also, those are closed subset of metric space, so they are also complete. As we know, any closed subset of a complete metric space is complete. So, and these Fn's are closed subset of complete metric space X. So we can conclude that all Fn's are complete. The third hypothesis is that the sequence Fn is a decreasing sequence. What do you mean by the decreasing sequence? It simply means that F1 is a subset of F2, F2 is a subset of F3, and so on. Fn is a subset of Fn plus 1. Observe that it also means that if there is a point in Fn, then it will be in all F1, F2 up to Fn minus 1. For example, if there is a point in F3, say that point is x3, then this point must be in F2 and also must be in F1 also. Okay. The fourth and final hypothesis is that diameter of Fn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. So the question is what the diameter means here. Let me define it first. We can loosely say that it is maximum distance of 2 points in the set A. I repeat, the diameter can be loosely defined as the maximum distance of 2 points in the set. Okay, let us formally define it. That the diameter of a set in a metric space is defined as supremum of the set of all distances of any 2 points of A. So diameter of A is the supremum of the set distance between AB, where A and B all are points of A. For example, I am considering the usual metric R. Then under the usual metric R, the diameter of open ball centered at A of radius, under the usual metric R, the diameter of open ball centered at A and of radius R is equal to 2R. Look at this circle on the right side. I will use this as open ball centered at A and radius R. Okay. Second example is diameter of closed ball centered at A of radius R. So I will use this notation CAR for the closed ball centered at A of radius R. And the diameter of closed ball is also equal to 2R. And these two things are in usual metric in R. Okay. Look at the circle. I will use this closed ball centered at A and radius R with the boundary as closed ball in my later on in this lecture. The next thing we should observe that diameter of a singleton set is always 0. This is because there is only one point in this kind of set, and so distance from any 2 points in the set must be 0, and so diameter is 0. I repeat, diameter of a singleton set is always 0 because there is only one point in this kind of set, and so distance from any 2 points in the set must be 0 as there is no other point. So diameter should be 0. Here is an important proposition regarding the diameter of a set. It says if a diameter of a set in metric space is 0, then it contains at most one point. It is quite obvious to observe that as if there is more than one point in that set, then the distance between two distinct points in the set must be greater than 0. So the supremum will be greater than 0, which will in turn the diameter to be greater than 0. So if the diameter is equal to 0, then the set must contain at most one point. It can be singleton or it can be empty set. Okay. This is all about hypothesis of the Cantor's intersection theorem. I repeat, there are 4 hypotheses in this Cantor intersection theorem. X is a complete metric space, each Fn is a non-empty closed set, Fn is a decreasing sequence, and diameter of Fn it tends to 0 as n goes to infinity. Now come to the conclusions which we need to draw by using these hypotheses. The conclusion is one, that we need to show that intersection of Fn is singleton. I am going to denote this intersection of Fn by capital F. Okay. Steps involved in this proof. I will prove this conclusion in 2 steps. First, we will show that F contains at most one point, and then second, we will show that F contains at least one point. So if F contains at most one point and at least one point, then it is clear that F should be singleton. Okay. Let me put these hypothesis, conclusion, and steps involved at the top. Yes. Now, for the first step means we need to show that F contains at most one point. The question is, what can we say about the diameter of F? Can I say diameter of F is 0? Anyone? Can we say diameter of F is 0? Okay, let me complete it. The answer is yes. As F is contained in each Fn, F is contained in each Fn. Why? Because F is intersection of Fn, so it must be contained in Fn. So F is contained in each Fn, so diameter of F is always less or equal to diameter of Fn, and diameter is a positive real number. It is a supremum of distances, so it is also greater or equal to 0. But by hypothesis 4, diameter of Fn tends to 0 as n goes to infinity. So in the above inequality, the diameter of F in the center will be sandwiched between the left 0 and the right 0 when n goes to infinity. So we can say diameter of F is 0. And we already seen that if diameter of any set is 0, then its set contains at most one point. So we can conclude that F contains at most one point. This is the proof of first step that is involved in the proof of Cantor's intersection theorem. Any questions till now?
No question.
Okay. Now moving to the next step of the proof. Let A1 is an element in F1, A2 an element in F2, and so on, An an element in Fn. Then note the following things. See, I'm considering each one element in each of the closed set in the given sequence. So note the following thing. As Fn is a decreasing sequence, then first point, this sequence A1, A2, An, these points A1, A2, N will form a sequence, and this is a sequence in F1. Why? Because if A1 is an element of F1, F1 is contained in F2, so every element of F2 must be an element of F1. Similarly, A3 is also belongs to F1. So we can say that this sequence A1, A2, A3 up to An is a sequence in F1. Now, second thing, if we drop A1 here, then A2, A3, and so on, these are all points in F2, and still this sequence is in this A2, A3, and An is a sequence in F2. Similarly, if we drop one more point, then it will become a sequence in F3, and so on. In general, we can say if we drop n-1 points, then An plus 1, An plus 2, and so on is a sequence. It will be a sequence in Fn. Okay. Now, we need to I want to prove that this sequence an is a Cauchy sequence. Why? Because if suppose I will prove, okay, because suppose it is a Cauchy sequence, then what will happen? This sequence and hence all its subsequence that are mentioned here will be convergent, and as the limit of convergent sequence is unique, so all these sets are complete, so limit of the this convergence sequence will belong to all these sets and hence belongs to the intersection. Okay, I don't think you all can understand this. Let me repeat it. Okay, suppose I will prove it a Cauchy sequence. Then if it is a Cauchy sequence, then and F1 is a complete metric, Fn is a closed subset of complete metric space, so F1 is complete, and An is a Cauchy sequence, so An must converge in F1. If A1 is if An sequence is converges in F1, so it's suppose its limit be X, then X must belongs to F1. Now the rest sequences in number 2 and point number 2, point number 3 are given are subsequences of the above sequence. So if above sequence is convergent, then all its subsequences are also converged to the same point where the original sequence converges. So that point X must belongs to F2, F3 and so on Fn. So there is a point X which belongs to each of F1, F2 and Fn. So intersection of Fn will contain at least one point. So if we will prove that the sequence An is a Cauchy sequence, then we can all easily show that the intersection of Fn will contains at least one point. Okay, let us prove the sequence is Cauchy. So how we prove the sequence is Cauchy? For choose any epsilon greater than 0 as diameter by our fourth hypothesis, diameter of Fn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. So it is a sequence in real number. Diameter of Fn is a sequence in real number which tends to 0, and here an epsilon is given. So we can conclude that there exists a natural number capital N such that diameter of Fn less than epsilon. Okay. Now consider any two numbers m and n greater than capital N, then am must belongs to fm and an must belongs to fn. This is because that we'll define these ai's belongs to fi's. So am belongs to fm and an belongs to fm. And capital N is smaller than m and n, and the sequence Fn is a decreasing sequence, so we can conclude that these both am and an belongs to capital Fn. Okay, and if an and am both are in capital Fn, so distance between them must be less or equal to diameter of capital Fn, f capital N, and we already see that diameter of capital Fn is less than epsilon. So we will, okay, which shows that the given sequence is a Cauchy sequence. Why it is Cauchy? Because we choose any epsilon, then there exists a natural number capital N such that distance between an and am is less than epsilon. So this is a Cauchy sequence, but the metric space X is complete, so this Cauchy sequence must converge. Suppose it converges to X, then the set F1 is also complete, so it converges to some X, and that X must belongs to F1. Again, in the point number 2, the sequence is a subsequence of above sequence, so it is also converges to the same point X, and F2 is also complete, so that X must belongs to F2. Similarly, that X must belongs to F3, and so on. We can say that X must belongs to Fn. So we'll get a point X which is belongs to all these Fi's. So we can say that X belongs to intersection of Fn, which showing that F contains at least one point. This is the proof of Cantor's intersection theorem, the second step. Okay, so in first step, we proved that F contains at most one point, and in second step, we proved that F contains at least one point. So we can conclude, mixing these, we can conclude that intersection of Fn must be singleton. Okay, come to the main theorem of today's lecture, the Bayer's category theorem. The statement is every non-empty.
Ramji, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
ये
Yes,
कह
sir.
रहा था कि थोड़ा सा स्लो कर लीजिए, हाँ,
Yes, sir.
और थोड़ा समय लिया जा सकता है ज्यादा, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, ठीक है
बिल्कुल
जी, ओके, थैंक यू।
Okay, so come to the Bayer's category theorem. The statement is every non-empty complete metric space is of second category. Let me recall what we have done in this lecture. First thing that we will need, that what is category, what do you mean by second category? It is simple. The second category means it is not of first category. And what is the meaning of first category? The meaning of first category is that a metric space X is said to be of first category if it is written as union of countable union of nowhere dense sets. So come to the proof. Let X be a non-empty complete metric space, and we need to show that X is of second category. Okay. First question is what we mean of second category. So I can simply say that a metric space is of second category. That means that metric space is not of first category. But a metric space is said to be of first category if it can be expressed as countable union of nowhere dense sets. So not of first category means it cannot be written as countable union of nowhere dense sets. Is it correct? So how we show it? We take a countable family of nowhere dense sets AN and show that X is not union of those. So to show that X is not of first category, we will take a countable family of nowhere dense sets and try to show that union of AN is not equal to X. Next question is how we show this. We will try to show that for any countable family AN of nowhere dense sets, there is a point in X which is not in any of these AN. If there is a point in X which is not in any of these ANs, that means that point is not in union of AN, and so these two sets, union of AN and X, must be different. Okay, so consider this last fact. So the statement is every complete non-empty complete metric space is of second category, and we need to prove that. Okay, let us consider AN be a countable family of nowhere dense sets. We need to show there is a point in X that does not belongs to AN for all n. So to show there is a point in X such that X does not belongs to AN for any n, if we will show this, then it will sufficient. It is sufficient to prove, to say that the non-empty complete metric space is of second category. Okay, I am showing it with some loose geometrical idea and then proceed. Suppose this rectangle denotes the metric space X, and this zigzagged shaped set denotes the first nowhere dense set of the given family. Suppose this X is the given metric space, and this set A1 is nowhere dense set and the first member of this family. Okay, we already proved that if a set is nowhere dense, then for a given non-empty open set, there exists a non-empty open ball contained in that open set and disjoint with the nowhere dense set. So here X is a non-empty open set. The complete metric space, a metric space is itself open. So X is a non-empty open set and A1 is nowhere dense. So there must exist an open ball in X which is disjoint with A1. So let me denote this open ball be centered at X1 of radius R1. This open ball must be disjoint with A1. Okay. Now observe that inside this open ball, there exists a closed ball with same center. Inside this open ball, there exists a closed ball with same center and lesser radius, say R1 by 2. I am going to call this closed set F1. Till now, is it okay? I repeat, let this X is a complete is the given metric space. A1 is the nowhere dense set. Then by the property of nowhere dense set that I proved earlier in this lecture, that if a set is nowhere dense, then for any non-empty open set, there exists an open ball which is contained in that open set and disjoint with the nowhere dense set. This open ball is Bx1R1 centered with X1 of radius R1, and inside of every open ball there exists a closed ball of with same center and lesser radius. Say this its radius is R1 by 2. I denote this closed set Cx1R1 by 2 by F1. Okay, let me put this figure at the top. Okay, what we have done, we put F1 as closed ball centered at X1 and radius R1 by 2. As its radius is R1 by 2, we can simply say that diameter of F1 cannot exceed R1. And also this F1 is also disjoint with A1. Okay. Now we will consider this F1 set and interior of this F1 set here. So we consider this interior of F1 and apply the same phenomena. We'll consider the second member of the nowhere dense family A2, and as interior of F1 is a non-empty open set and A2 is a nowhere dense set, so there must exist an open ball inside that open set which is disjoint with A2. Let this open ball is Bx2R2 centered with X2 and radius R2. And again, inside this open ball there must be a closed ball with same center and half radius. I denote this closed set by F2 set. Okay, this is. So what we have done, we take the metric space X starting. We started with the metric space X and a nowhere dense set A1. Then there exists an open ball in X disjoint with A1. We denote this open ball with Bx1R1. And inside this open ball, there exists a closed ball with same center and of lesser radius. Say radius is half. So we denote this set Cx1R1 by 2 and denote it by F1. Now we consider this interior of this closed ball. That means interior of F1 in the next figure. Now and consider the next nowhere dense set A2. So again, A2 is nowhere dense and interior of F1 is non-empty open set. So there must exist an open ball contained in interior of F1 and disjoint with A2. We denote this open ball by Bx2R2, and inside that open ball there must exist a closed ball, and we denote it by the set F2. Okay, so F1 is closed ball centered with X1, radius R1 by 2, and diameter of F1 is less or equal to R1, and F2 is closed ball centered with R2 and radius R2 by 2, and diameter of F2 is less or equal to R2. Now one can easily observe that F2 is contained in F1 and diameter of F2 is less or equal to half times diameter of F1. F2 because F2 is contained in interior of F1, so F2 is contained in F1, and diameter of F2 is less or equal to half of diameter of F1. Also, this F2 is disjoint with A2, so it must be disjoint with A1 also. So F2 is disjoint with A1 and A2. Hence, there exist closed sets F1 and F2 such that F2 is contained in F1 and diameter of F2 is less or equal to diameter of F1, half times diameter of F1, but diameter of F1 is less or equal to R1, so diameter of F2 is less or equal to R1 by R2, R1 by 2, and F2 is disjoint with A1, both A1 and A2. Again, consider interior of F2 and proceeding in the same way. We will get a closed set F3 such that F3 is contained in F2. Diameter of F3 is less or equal to half of diameter of F2, which is less or equal to R1 by 2 square. And F3 is disjoint with A1, A2, A3. What if we proceed it in this way? Again, proceeding in this way, we get a family of non-empty closed set Fn such that Fn is a subset of Fn minus 1 and diameter of Fn is less or equal to half times diameter of Fn minus 1, which is less or equal to R1 by 2 to the power n minus 1. And all Fn is disjoint with A1, A2 and so on up to An. Okay. Hence, we get a decreasing sequence. Oh, so what we conclude? We get a decreasing sequence. X is a complete metric space. We get a decreasing sequence of non-empty closed balls such that its diameter tends to 0 as R1 by 2 to the power n minus 1 tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. So diameter of Fn will tends to 0. So we can apply the Cantor's intersection theorem. All the hypothesis of Cantor's intersection theorem is satisfied. So we can say that F, which is intersection of Fn, is singleton, and intersection of Fn is disjoint with all AIs. Both things we can conclude. Now, intersection is singleton and this intersection is disjoint with AIs. That means there is a point in intersection which is disjoint with AI. Hence, there exists a point in intersection F such that that point does not belong to An, which we will need to prove. Okay. This proves the bare category theorem. Now I put some references. This first reference is of the paper that Baer published in 1899 for his doctoral thesis, and the two books that in which the same proof is given. Thank you. Any questions, sir?
Yes, I think.
लक्ष्मीकांत जी कोई सवाल है?
सर अभी तक तो कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं. एक क्वेश्चन सिंपल सा है, वो इज सिंगलटन सेट in R with the discrete metric space is nowhere dense.
Singleton set in R in discrete metric space is nowhere dense. It is very easy. Singleton set in discrete metric space, each set is open as well as closed. So the singleton set is also open as well as closed. For to show a set is nowhere dense, we need to show that interior of a closure is empty. So if A is closed set, then A closure is equal to A, and if A is open, then its interior is also equal to A. So if a set is open as well as closed, so interior of closure of that set must be equal to that set, which is not non-empty. That is why the singletons in discrete metric spaces are nowhere dense.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you, Ramji sir.
Sir.
Such a nice presentation you have done here. और जैसा मैंने कहा था कि बिल्कुल हैं हम सबको बहुत अच्छा लगता है और हमसे इंस्पायर करता है। थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू। अगर एक है और फिर 28 तारीख को 28 जुलाई को हम लोग फिर वर्कशॉप में 10 बजे से मिलेंगे। थैंक यू।
तो अभी कल के लिए
लक्ष्मीकांत जी।
जी सर।
बताएं, कुछ आप कह रहे थे।
जी सर, अभी मतलब ये बताना था कि कल हम लोगों का हॉलीडे है, तो सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स जितनी चीज़ें पढ़ाई गई हैं उसको रिकॉल करेंगे और उसके बाद फिर हम लोग परसों फिर से मिलते हैं। ओके सर।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। थैंक
ओके
यू।
सर, थैंक यू।